Imagine walking into Lumiere, one of Beverly Hills' most exclusive restaurants, a place where millionaires dine without even glancing at the menu prices, where walls shimmer with subtle gold and impeccably decorated tables are booked months in advance. Now imagine arriving there wearing worn jeans and a basic t-shirt with no flashy jewelry or expensive watch. Even before crossing the threshold, you feel the judgmental stares intensely evaluating you. For many, it would be an uncomfortable experience. But what if you were Keanu Reeves, one of Hollywood's most respected stars, and no one recognized who you were? In this setting, we find Ashley, a waitress at Lumiere, young and ambitious, but with pride reflected in her every gesture. For Ashley, appearances are everything. The shine of clothes, the haircut, the customer's accessories. This is how she decides who deserves the best service and who isn't worth her time. At Lumiere, Ashley is a reflection of the restaurant itself, luxurious, exclusive, and unforgiving to anyone who doesn't seem to belong. And on this particular day, she was about to learn a lesson she would never forget. It was a busy afternoon at Lumiere. The kind of day when every table is occupied and the aroma of finely prepared dishes fills the air. Ashley was in her element, gliding between tables with an air of superiority. That's when he walked in. Keanu Reeves. He crossed the entrance with the same calm demeanor that has always characterized him. He wore a plain black t-shirt, worn jeans, and comfortable shoes. His tousled hair and slightly grown beard gave him the look of someone ordinary, someone anyone could pass on the street without noticing. Except that, to Ashley, he wasn't a world-famous actor. He was just another customer who clearly didn't meet the luxury standards she considered essential. Ashley frowned but quickly forced a professional smile as she approached. "Good afternoon, sir. Do you have a reservation?" she asked in a tone that bordered on impatience, as if she already knew the answer. Keanu replied calmly, maintaining a slight smile. "Not really. I hope there's still a table available." Ashley sighed inwardly, thinking that this man probably had no idea what he was getting himself into. "Well, let me see what I can do," she said without enthusiasm, leading Keanu to a table in the most discreet corner of the restaurant, near the kitchen. Place Ashley reserved for customers who, in her opinion, didn't deserve to be the center of attention. "This table will be perfect for you, sir," she said, placing the menu in front of him. "Oh, just a warning. The prices are listed next to each dish, so there will be no surprises." The phrase came out with a touch of sarcasm that Keanu seemed to ignore. Seated at the table, he browsed the menu calmly, completely indifferent to Ashley's provocations. Meanwhile, other customers observed him discreetly, perhaps wondering who this man was, so comfortable yet so out of place in such an environment. Little did Ashley know that this unusual customer was about to completely change her world. Ashley returned to Keanu's table with a notepad in hand and a look laden with disdain. This customer remained calm, browsing the menu as if he were in any ordinary cafe. For her, it was almost irritating. He didn't seem intimidated by the atmosphere or by the expensive clothes that other customers wore, like trophies. She couldn't understand it. "Have you decided what you'd like to order?" she asked in a cold tone, trying to keep the interaction brief. Keanu looked up, showing a slight smile. "Yes, I'll have the filet mignon with truffle sauce and a red wine to accompany it." "Which one?" "Would you recommend?" Ashley held back a laugh. "Filet mignon with truffle sauce." It was one of the most expensive dishes on the menu, and this man, with his simple appearance, hadn't even blinked when ordering it. "Well," she began in a condescending tone, "our sommelier usually recommends the Chateau Margaux. It's an exceptional wine, but quite expensive." The emphasis on the last word sounded almost like a warning. Keanu remained calm, with serene eyes. "The Chateau Margaux seems like a reliable choice. I'll trust your recommendation." The unexpected response disarmed her for a moment, but she wouldn't let it show. "He's probably trying to impress someone," she thought, "or maybe he doesn't even know what he's ordering." "All right," she responded, noting the order with a forced smile. "But just to make sure, I'll bring you the wine list so you can confirm the price." Once again, she tried to undermine him, expecting him to back down. Keanu simply nodded, paying no attention to her sarcastic tone. In the back room, Ashley whispered with her colleagues. "I bet he'll regret it as soon as he sees the bill," she said with a mocking smile. Meanwhile, other customers began to notice the interaction. A couple at the next table whispered among themselves, bothered by Ashley's rude behavior. "That's no way to treat someone, whoever they may be," the woman murmured. On the other hand, an elderly man sitting alone at one of the central tables, dressed in an elegant blue suit, watched everything attentively. His gaze was a mixture of disapproval and curiosity. The night progressed, and Ashley continued serving Keanu with the same sarcastic tone. When she brought the plate, she made sure to place the cutlery with a brusque movement. "Here's your filet mignon. I hope it meets your expectations," she said, clearly trying to challenge him. Keanu simply thanked her and began eating with the same serenity as before. Later, when he ordered dessert, a chocolate cake with cherry liqueur filling, Ashley couldn't help another comment. "Are you sure you want to add this? Perhaps it would be better to save for the wine you already ordered?" Her voice dripped with sarcasm, but to her frustration, Keanu simply laughed. "Yes, I'm sure. Sometimes dessert is the best part of a meal." His calmness was disconcerting. No matter how much she tried to humiliate him, he never reacted with anger or discomfort. It was as if he were far above any of her attempts to belittle him. This began to attract the attention of other customers who now watched the interaction, as if it were a show. Whispers began to travel across the dining room, while Ashley continued with her provocations. Something unexpected was about to happen, a shift in the atmosphere that she could never have predicted. The elderly man in the blue suit stood up, walked to the restaurant manager, and discreetly told him something. Minutes later, the manager, with eyes wide as plates, began moving quickly toward Keanu's table. What was about to occur would turn that night into an unforgettable lesson. Ashley was returning to Keanu's table with the bill in hand, a smile of satisfaction floating on her face. Finally, the moment that, in her mind, would prove he didn't belong there. But before she could arrive, the restaurant manager, a tall and well-dressed man named Richard, crossed the dining room with quick steps and an alarmed expression. "Ashley, can you return to the kitchen for a moment? I'll take it from here," he said, in a firm but controlled tone. Not understanding why, she handed the bill to Richard and stepped back, confused. The manager then approached Keanu, bowed slightly, in a gesture of respect, and said with a voice brimming with enthusiasm, "Mr. Reeves, what an honor to have you with us today. Why didn't you let us know you were coming? We would have prepared something special for your arrival." Suddenly, the dining room fell silent. Every customer seemed frozen, processing those words. Ashley, watching from afar, felt her heart racing. "Mr. Reeves?" she mumbled to herself, completely stunned. It was impossible. Was this simple man really Keanu Reeves? Keanu, as always, remained calm, smiling kindly at Richard. "Thank you, but it wasn't necessary. I like simplicity. I just wanted to enjoy a good meal." Richard, visibly nervous, looked around as if trying to compensate for the lack of attention Keanu had received until that moment. "Please, anything you need, we're at your disposal. This meal will be on the house, of course." Keanu raised his hand politely. "That's not necessary. I insist on paying. I just want everyone here to be treated the same way I am. No one should have to say who they are to be respected." His voice was calm but firm, resonating through the dining room with a force that made everyone present reflect. Ashley felt her face burning as the reality of the situation hit her. Her behavior, the provocations, the judgmental looks, all came back like a crushing weight. She tried to approach, stammering excuses. I didn't know, sir, But Richard interrupted her with a serious expression she had never seen before. "This behavior is unacceptable, Ashley. We don't tolerate discrimination here in any form." The tone of his voice made it clear that the conversation wouldn't end there. Keanu, however, stood up, looking directly at Ashley. His gaze didn't convey anger, but disappointment, something much more impactful. "We all make mistakes," he said, calmly. "But what's important is learning from them. It's not about knowing who someone is or how much they can pay. It's about how we choose to treat people." The entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Customers who were previously unaware of the situation now watched with admiration at Keanu's attitude. He took out his wallet, left the payment on the table, and thanked them kindly. "It's been an excellent meal. Have a good night, everyone." As he headed toward the exit, the dining room seemed even quieter. His words floated in the air like a lesson that no one there would ever forget. After Keanu's departure, the Lumiere restaurant was unrecognizable, the atmosphere previously charged with exclusivity and luxury was now impregnated with reflection. Customers whispered among themselves, while some staff members exchanged uneasy glances. Ashley, for her part, felt the weight of every gaze directed at her. Each whisper seemed to carry judgment. At the end of the shift, Richard, the manager, called a meeting with all staff in the main dining room. Ashley sat in silence, unable to look at her colleagues. Shame and guilt burned inside her. Richard began to speak in a serious tone. "Today, we had the privilege of serving one of the most respected men in the world, but beyond that, we had the opportunity to learn a lesson we should never forget." Keanu, who had been waiting quietly backstage, entered the room with the same serenity he had shown throughout the night. All eyes turned to him, some incredulous, others admiring. He stood in front of the team, looked at them with a calm countenance, and began to speak. "I'm not here to accuse anyone. I'm here to talk about something I see frequently in all the places I go. Hasty judgments. It's something we all do sometimes without realizing it, but that doesn't mean it's right." Ashley felt her eyes filling with tears. "What we've learned today is that appearances can be deceiving. Every person you serve here or meet on the street carries with them a story, struggles, victories, fears, and none of that is visible at first glance. That's why respect and empathy should always be above any judgment." He paused, looking directly at Ashley, not with anger, but with compassion. "I know we all make mistakes. What's most important is how we choose to react to them. Learning and improving requires courage, but it's what makes us truly human." Ashley, fighting back tears, finally gathered the courage to speak. Her voice trembled. "I'm so sorry. I was so focused on trying to impress, on maintaining the restaurant's image that I forgot what really matters. There are no excuses for my behavior." Keanu smiled kindly. "Recognizing the mistake is the first step. True change comes from within, and I believe you can improve." Richard, inspired by Keanu's attitude, addressed the team. "From today on, I want this restaurant to be remembered not just for its food and atmosphere, but for how we treat every person who crosses that door. Let's make an effort to make everyone feel welcome, without exceptions." Ashley wiped away her tears, feeling a mixture of shame and gratitude. She knew that night would mark her life forever, and for the first time, she didn't feel defensive or proud. She felt willing to change. Keanu ended with a final reflection. Being kind costs nothing, but for those who receive it, it can mean everything. Think about that. As he left the restaurant once more, leaving the team immersed in reflection, a sense of change floated in the air. His message had touched each person present in a deep and indelible way. The next morning, as the Beverly Hills sun illuminated the streets, the Lumiere restaurant seemed different. Not in its luxurious appearance or impeccable decoration, but in the attitude of the people who worked there. The previous night had left a mark. They weren't scars of shame, but seeds of transformation. Keanu Reeves, without knowing it, became the talk of the day. Customers commented on social media about what they had witnessed, describing him as a figure of humility in a world where status is everything. For many, the message he conveyed was as powerful as the roles he played on the big screen. In the restaurant's meeting room, Ashley, still deeply reflective, gathered the courage to send an apology message to the manager and team. She knew she couldn't change the past, but she could strive to be better in the present. As she wrote, she remembered Keanu's words, "True change comes from within." And for the first time, she felt a genuine desire to change, not just to correct a mistake, but to become someone more empathetic and human. A few days later, Keanu posted a discreet message on his social media. Without mentioning the restaurant or Ashley directly, he conveyed the essence of what had happened. In a world full of judgments, remember that kindness is the most powerful weapon we have. Choose to be kind, even when no one is watching. True strength lies in acceptance. The post went viral. People from all over the world shared stories of times they were unfairly judged, or when an act of kindness changed their day. Keanu's message transcended the small incident at the restaurant and became a global reminder of the power of empathy. Back at Lumiere, the team seemed more united. The manager implemented a training program focused on humanized service, and Ashley was the first to volunteer to participate. She began to see each customer differently, not as an extension of their clothes or bank account, but as real people with stories and feelings. One night, while serving a table, Ashley noticed a customer sitting alone. He wore simple clothes and had a peaceful expression. Unlike what she would have done before, she approached with a genuine smile. "Welcome to Lumiere. May I help you choose something?" There was no sarcasm or judgment, only respect. Keanu's lesson had been learned. The script of Keanu Reeves that night at Lumiere ended with a much greater impact than he could have imagined. And for us who hear this story, the final question remains: how many times do we judge people before knowing them? And more importantly, what are we willing to do to change that? Perhaps today is the perfect day to choose to be kind, because, as Keanu demonstrated, a simple act can resonate louder than 1,000 speeches, and sometimes the person who seems ordinary turns out to be extraordinary. If this story inspired you, subscribe to our channel for more tales that challenge the way we see the world. Share this video with someone who needs to remember the power of kindness.